Hello and welcome to Lee Stafford Education Online Live. My name's Lee Stafford and I'm going to be one of your hosts today. Please let us know how you're feeling in the comments with some emojis. We've got a very, very special young lady that's going to be presenting to you today. She's one of the staffs at LSE. She's an award-winning stylist, just opened her own salon and really making waves in the industry. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Lydia Wolfe.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having me, Lee. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to share with you the look that we're going to be creating in this masterclass. So my name is Lydia Wolfe. I own a salon in the New Forest in Hampshire. And I am very proud to say that I'm an international award-winning hair colorist. I'm very, very passionate.
Impressive, Lydia, straight away, just saying that.
Thank you. And yeah, so I love everything color, particularly. I kind of love hairdressing in general, but color is what gets me out of bed in the morning. And I particularly in my day-to-day in the salon, I really specialize in big color transformations. So anything kind of color correction, anything sort of taking somebody from one look and restyling them with their color. So I do an awful lot of that. And because of that, I love to share what I know and what I do. I love to share tips and education on hair coloring, and I really would love you to feel free today to ask as many questions as you like and pick my brains about anything to do with the science of hair color. Hello, and yeah, any kind of questions, please, I thoroughly encourage them, and use my brain today. I'm more than willing to share everything. We'll really dive into the ombre recipe today, and I can't wait to show you a completely different take on it.
Brilliant. So very exciting. I haven't even seen this result yet, have I? So I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah, indeed. I gave Lee the option to have a spoiler, but he decided to keep it a surprise. So it's a surprise for you all, and I can't wait to show you. So how many people in the comments know the LSE ombre recipe, or have kind of watched it, even tried it before on models? I've just put my finger through the hole of my glove, so I'll be right back.
Hello, Bon. Hello, Stacey. Hello, Mrs. Jones. And
hello. Sorry, I just stuck my fingernail right through the glove, but gloves are very important, so let's not forget this. Yeah, lovely. So this here, everyone, is my beautiful model for the day. And as you may notice, she is already very light base. So she's actually blonde instead of dark. And I've started by pre-toning her hair. So in the LSE ombre recipe, you will see that there is a toning technique. So using my applicator bottle and a toner and the S application technique, I've used a silver toner to take her very yellow hair to a very lovely silver. And I've pre-sectioned it into our ombre pre-sectioning. And now I'm going to do something a little bit different. Taking the tail comb, I'm actually, instead of doing the side parting, I'm going to adapt it ever so slightly and move our sectioning to a center parting. And this is because we're going to do something really exciting today. I'm going to demonstrate how we can twist up the LSE ombre technique to create 2 trending fashion looks. One is the dip dye trend. Now, you might notice that I am a fan of this trend myself. And the other trend that we'll be demonstrating at the same time is the half and half trend. So she's going to have a dip dye that is one color on one side and one color on the other side.
That sounds cool. That sounds cool. And is dip dyeing something that you do often in the salon?
Yeah, it's something that we're getting a lot of requests for at the moment. So that's kind of how you know whether something's really trendy is, you know, first of all, you see it in magazines, you see it on celebrities, and then you start to notice when customers are coming in, and it's not just one customer asking for a look, it's several in the space of a short amount of time. So because we're having quite a lot of customers asking for this look at the moment, I know that it's really on trend.
And can you do it on any length, Lydia?
Any length, yeah, any length, other than maybe a very short textured pixie cut. We might not be able to do an ombre or a dip dye technique on that because it wouldn't have enough length to show the difference in the 2 colors. So the top color and the bottom color.
And would you need to pre-lighten all the hair first before you dip dye it, or is that just for this particular look?
So it depends on what base you're working on. So for dip dye, you could have, much like my hair, you could have blonde with a vivid or dark color on the ends, or you could have a dark color with blonde on the ends. You could have a dark color with blue or purple on the ends. You would need to pre-lighten in order to get a vivid or a really clean, vibrant look. So that's what we've done with this model. She's got lovely even blonde all over, so she'd need to be pre-lightened beforehand. And then taking our first section, which goes down to the occipital bone at the back in a diagonal section. This is our first section, and we're going to be starting from the front. Taking a diagonal, a small triangle section like this, and just sectioning a tiny little bit out from the face. And I have mixed up a beautiful lime green color with a vivid. So it's like a beautiful neon green we're doing for our dip dye. So do you see how you can think outside of the box a little bit with your color choice? It doesn't have to be pre-lightener or bleach on a brown head of hair. It could also be a vivid color. These techniques are so versatile.
How long would that vivid color last on this pre-lightened head of hair?
So that's a really good question. Different manufacturers will tell you different lengths of time for how long to recommend to your clients it would last. I always like to say that it will fade because this is a semi-permanent, so it's a direct color, it's a semi-permanent, and it will fade from the first wash. The client will experience it getting lighter and less vibrant from the first wash, but it all depends on the hair that you're working with. So if the hair is very damaged, for instance, or very porous, then the vivid color might not last as long. So taking the color on our brush, and normally we start 2/3 of the way down the hair. Now I am going to, because of the length of my model's hair, I'm going to start a little bit further up. I'm going to start 1/3 of the way up and just applying it in this kind of feathering technique. Then turning my brush to the side and working up towards the head on the outer edges. Then when you reach towards the end, we get out our paddle or our spatula, lay it over the top, and work the colour through so that the ends are really saturated. And let it drop. Looks really satisfying, doesn't it?
It does. It's a nice colour combo as well already.
Yeah.
Is there any colours you wouldn't use, Lydia?
I think that when you're doing your consultation with your client, there will be limitations of what the person can achieve. So, for instance, if their hair already has lots of dye on it, then perhaps you wouldn't use a colour that's not going to show up on the very dark hair. Or if the hair is very damaged, maybe you need to have a little think about what kind of colour you'll be using, whether it's going to cause more damage or whether we need to use something more conditioning, for instance. Taking our next triangle section and creating a little gap. And what you'll see is with the little gaps that we leave out, you'll see when we see the finished look, how it creates the most amazing blend between this very, very vibrant colour and the soft natural blonde colour. That's our second triangle section.
And how long did it take you to get that colour pre-done? The blonde platinum look all over?
So, I have to confess, this mannequin head was already a lovely bright blonde, but knowing, you know, blonding and color correction, because that is pre-lightening as a color correction technique, it really depends on whether the client already has pre-existing color on their hair and how dark their natural base is. They would be the two things that we would need to factor in for how long it would take to achieve a lovely white blonde.
Gotcha.
Which is a good base.
So guys, I'd like to run a little bit of a competition today. We're going to give away, LSC, a nice box of Lee Stafford products to the person that gets nearest to this number. And the number is, how many students has LSC trained to date? How many students have gone through the LSC program? The nearest person to the number, I'm going to send a big box of Lee Stafford products to. So coming all the way through this presentation with Lydia, just keep guessing. Everyone have a guess, and the nearest person will send that box of goodies to.
Wow, what a prize.
Question from a student, Lydia. Do you need to isolate the colour so it doesn't go onto the blonde hair?
Really, really good question. Thank you so much for asking. So, as you notice, I have not, but that is because the consistency of the product that I'm working with, it's quite thick. So I feel really confident that I can let it sit and it's not going to bleed onto the rest of the hair because of the thickness of the colour. But if the consistency of the colour was more, say, watery, then I might want to isolate it with some foils or something underneath that would, like, for instance, film, that would make me feel more confident letting the colour sit over the top. But you can see that I'm just letting them sit together and they're not bleeding at all.
Which must make it a lot quicker, right?
So this is so quick. This is so quick. So imagine if this was a client and their service has already been going for a little while because we've taken them blonde and then we've pre-silverized, or we've pre-toned this lovely silver colour, and now this is the finishing touches.
So correct me if I'm wrong, once you've done this beautiful blonde, whatever colour you've got on as far as a dip dye doing this ombre technique, in a few weeks or however long it takes for the colour to eventually fade out, it's still going to be left with this beautiful platinum blonde.
Exactly. That is something that is popular with, well, one of the reasons that vivid and vibrant colours are so popular is because they're really low commitment. You could have it done for a birthday or for a party and just try it once and then go back to something more natural as it fades out.
So you can have a lot of fun with it, can't you?
A lot of fun. A lot of fun. And that's kind of why I've chosen 2 colours, so we can go really crazy.
And
so I've gone.
Sorry, Lydia.
Sorry, no, after you, Lee.
No, I was just about to say, and this kind of thing is so Instagrammable, it's so marketable, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it can be one of those things that gets you the attention of clients, because though your clients might not be as adventurous, it does get their attention to your Instagram profile or your Facebook or your website where you're marketing yourself as a stylist, and they see the picture and they go, I love it. I never have that in a million years, but I love it. And it gets a lot of interaction. It gets people talking. So it is, these things are sometimes a really good advertisement for yourself. So I've finished my first section. I'm going up now to my second section, starting at the front again. And I have sectioned out a small amount around the face for softness and taking it 45 degrees out from the head, starting 1/3 of the way down instead of 2/3 of the way down, and then turning my brush to the side and feathering up closer to the root.
So how long would this take you to do if you was in the salon?
So for this technique, because the LSE ombre technique is just a really good all-rounder, it's quite a quick, easy, once you get confident with it, you can be quite fast with it. However, you also need to take into account the fact that people have different thickness of hair. So somebody with very thick hair, for instance, would take me longer than somebody with finer hair. So for this, I would, in a commercial environment, so in the salon, I would leave between 1.5 hours or to 1 hour to apply.
Mrs. Jones has said, what defines a dip dye?
A dip dye.
Yeah.
So the dip dye trend is what I guess looks like you've had your hair dipped into colour on the ends. So it's, very contrasted from the top colour, whereas with an ombre, you see more of a beautiful blend. Balayage, you see more of a soft blend. Dip dye is quite a contrast, it's quite edgy.
Does it have to be like a line like yours is, or can it be more diffused like you're doing now?
Yes, exactly. I'm going to show you that it can be more diffused, like I'm doing. So this is going to leave a lovely soft blend rather than a harsh line. But you'll see it still looks as if you've had a blonde client dip her hair in some colour.
So Mrs. Jones said, so it's a colour, but it's not a blended colour.
Well, you can blend it if you want to. You can have it as blended or as much of a harsh line as you like. So sometimes my clients request that they want it to be quite a harsh line. This is a good thing to discuss in consultation. You know, do they want it to look quite harsh and blunt and edgy, or do they want it to be quite soft and diffused? This look, I'd say that mine's quite harsh and edgy because the colours are two very, very different. You know, I've got dark on the ends and very, very light on the top. This is going to show you a much more diffused effect, which I would argue is maybe a little bit more commercial. Really pretty, and it looks expensive. You know, you couldn't create it at home on your own hair with a box dye.
Hmm.
So taking our next section up to the top. Another thing that's probably really important to think about when you are doing an ombre technique or a dip dye or a balayage on somebody is whether you're going to be cutting their hair afterwards, because you might start the color very far down and then have a big restyle and lots of the colors cut off. So that's something that's really good to bear in mind when you're doing your consultation or you're planning where to do your placement of color.
And do you see balayage slowing down in any way?
I don't. Every time I expect it to start going out of fashion, it comes back in a new way. I think what is ever changing with balayage isn't whether people are still having it or not. It's the kind of result that they are having, that they're going for with it. So, for instance, I think it started very dark at the top and light on the ends, and then it became more light, emulating a full head of highlights. And now I've noticed that a lot of people having balayage have this very kind of chunky blonde face frame around the face. Mm-hmm. So it's not so much that it's going anywhere, it's just always changing.
You think it's a classic now?
I think, yeah, I think that it's here to stay.
Amber's asked you a question, Lydia. She says, have you ever messed someone's hair up when dyeing? And if so, what do you do about it?
That is a really good question. And I am quite proud to say, yes, I have messed up people's hair. I have. And, you know, I'm proud to say it because it's not necessarily that you did it. It's how you deal with it when you do it. So whether it's your error or something that was maybe slightly out of your control, it's really important to try and learn from your mistakes, try and embrace your mistakes and kind of go, right, okay, what can I do next time to avoid this happening again? Or how can I learn from this? How am I going to overcome it? How am I going to make the client trust me again? So what can I do to regain their trust and to keep them feeling calm? and happy. Usually with color, I'm, happy to say it's something that you can change. If it goes too dark, you can lighten it up. If it goes too light, you can darken it down. There's not really a lot with color that you can't fix quite easily. Things that are possible to go very wrong is if you damage the condition of their hair. So that's where things like your tests come in really important. So your porosity tests, elasticity tests, doing a strand test on someone's hair ahead of an appointment are all really important. Or incompatibility tests. All of these things are there to protect you from going wrong. And that's when you really go wrong. If you damage somebody's hair, then that's a lot harder to come back from than the hair going too light, too dark, or God forbid, going bright green or pink or something like that when that wasn't what they wanted. You can fix those things much better than you can if you damage it.
Gotcha. Do you ever not do a skin test?
Never, ever.
Why is that?
So I skin test every single client ahead of a color appointment. The reason is, because a lot of our clients will say, "Oh, I've been having color for years. I've been having my hair colored for years. I've been having my hair colored by the same product brand that you use in your salon." But it's so important to check, not just to protect the client, but to protect you as well. So it's your responsibility to stop them from having an adverse reaction. I've had one client have a sensitivity reaction in my life, and it was somebody who was a regular client. They came in every 6 weeks, and they were having a product that you can't actually be allergic to, but they had a sensitivity reaction. And even that was honestly one of the most stressful days of my whole life. I will never forget how guilty I felt. And imagine if that wasn't just a sensitivity reaction. Imagine if it was an allergic reaction and you hadn't skin tested them, how awful that would feel if you'd caused them that uncomfortable experience, or even worse, real health risk by skipping something so important. So we skin test every single client ahead of their first color appointment. And sometimes we re-skin test them if they don't come in regularly enough, or if, for instance, something changes about their health, they've fallen pregnant, or they've had COVID or something like that.
Gotcha. We've got another question from Laura. She says, is there any tips you would give for a beginner doing an ombre?
Yes. My tips for a beginner doing ombre are to work really cleanly. For starters, once you start getting product kind of on your gloves or all over your brush, or starts to get a bit messy, that's where sometimes you can transfer color by accident onto bits of hair that you don't want to be coloring, or you could accidentally transfer some color onto the client, which can be a bit uncomfortable for them. Working clean is a really good tip. Also, your tension of the hair. So when you're taking it out at your 45-degree angle, you create some nice tension, and that tension makes the hair almost from this kind of lovely floppy material into something flat and hard, a bit like a piece of paper. And then you've got your brush and your paint, and it's like painting onto a piece of paper, which is much easier than painting onto a floppy piece of soft material.
There's some great questions here, guys. Keep them coming. We've got another one from Anna. She says, what is your preferred type of hair colouring to do?
Oh, well, variety is the spice of life, right? So I love being able to do a little bit of everything, but definitely my favorite thing to do is big kind of changes and color corrections, and I love working with vivid colors as well. because that's really fun, really satisfying.
What's the most profitable?
Most profitable. Probably blonding, highlights, balayage, all of those sorts of things, because they are really popular and you can get quite fast at doing them. And once you get fast at doing something that looks really, really good and you get really, really popular with it, that can be a quite good money maker. And then people may add on additional services. So they might have a treatment with their highlights because they want it to look really shiny and beautiful. And they might want to have a creative toner because they've had, they've gone really lovely in blonde, but they want to have silver or pink on top of their blonde. And that doesn't take any time at all to add on to the service. So they can be really good ways of being profitable.
And is highlights or balayage more profitable?
So I guess when you're talking about, for me, they take about the same amount of time. In our salon, we allocate about the same amount of time for a balayage as for highlights. So in terms of time and the wage of a stylist, or time, time is money, then they're similar. With highlights, obviously, you factor in the cost of foils, which sometimes foils can be quite expensive. If you're using fancy foils, we use quite expensive foils in here because we like the stronger, wider ones. But then sometimes with a balayage service, I might use foil to isolate as well. So I'd say that they can be similar. And again, as well, it depends on the thickness of a person's hair. Sometimes I might run over time a little bit because the person's got a lot of hair, and sometimes I might be really, really quick and run ahead of time because somebody's got very fine hair. So I'd say they're quite similar.
Gotcha. I've got a really good question. They've all been great questions. Keep them coming, guys. From Jamily, is that how you pronounce it? Jamily Curtis. Have you ever been scared about the outcome of a colour before seeing the end result?
Yes, pretty much every day. No, it's true. There's something really satisfying about cutting. It's very visual, and you can kind of see what you're doing as you go. With hair color, there's a processing time in between where you don't have any control over what's happening. You have to wait for the end result, and that comes with confidence and experience. The more times you do something, the more you're like, well, I know exactly how this is going to go because I've done it 100 times before. But there are some times when every head of hair is different. Every head of hair is a different color. It's a different texture. It's a different thickness. So yeah, every day I kind of wonder what it's going to look like and see how it's going to look like. But yeah, it's quite regular that I have moments where I think, oh gosh, pray to the hair gods that this all goes okay, because there's just so many factors that contribute. I'm glad you're laughing. There's so many factors that contribute to what an end result is going to be, and you could be the most experienced hair colorist in the world and still get nervous.
So got another question from Tracy. She says, how long have you been working in the hair industry?
So I have been hairdressing for 10 years this year. So I started in 2011, and in September 2021, I celebrated 10 years of being a hairdresser.
Wow, you're quite a newbie then, really.
I am. In the grand scheme of things, I am a newbie.
And how long was your training for, Lydia?
So I trained for about 3 years in total. 2 years it took me to do my level 2 and 1 year to do my level 3. And actually, no, that's wrong. I'm still learning now. Yeah. I'm still training and going to classes and going on courses all the time. So I guess you never stop.
And how important was it for your career to enter competitions and eventually win them?
Um, Honestly, competitions changed my life, changed my whole trajectory of my career, because I didn't have a lot of confidence as a hairdresser, especially not in the first kind of 4 years of hairdressing. I was quite nervous. I didn't think I was particularly good. And then I really loved the idea of putting myself forward for competitions because I'm very creative. I love art, I love drawing, I love music. And I really loved the idea of creating something crazy, with hair, and enjoying that challenge, but not necessarily winning, but just enjoying the challenge, the task of putting myself out there. And it was through that I won. The first competition I ever won was in 2017, and that's when I won. Not only I went forward for it, I won the UK winner. I was the gold winner in the UK, and then I went out to Barcelona to compete against the other winners from all over the world, and then I won out there as well.
Remember?
And I came, yeah, it was just, honestly, I cannot tell you what an amazing experience it was, and how much of a smile it still puts on my face, like remembering that. But it just gave me a real spark, like it gave me a real fire in my belly, and it made me think, maybe I'm not actually that bad at this. And it was really cool. I came back to the salon, and people would come to the salon and they'd say, I want to have Lydia because she's the award-winning colorist. And then that gave me lots of confidence as well, and it gave me lots of clients. And yeah, so it was amazing, not just for my profile, but it was amazing for my confidence as well.
So what would you say to all the students that are listening that might be thinking about entering a competition, like the LSE competition, for example?
I say go for it, because honestly, you have nothing to lose but everything to gain. If you put something out there that you are proud of, or that you've tried something different, you've learned how to do something new, then awesome. And if you don't win, then what have you lost? But if you place, then what an amazing feeling, and how great to have something that you created recognized by people. And it's just fun as well. It's different than what you do every day in the salon. It's different what you do every day in the classroom.
And it's interesting what you said there, Lydia, because rain or shine, I mean, if you don't win or you don't get nominated, it's fun, it improves your skills. And if you do get anywhere in it, then it does all those things, but really gets you noticed, doesn't it? It makes you stand out in a world that's very populated.
Exactly. It does make you stand out, and whether that is on a really big international scale that you want to get noticed, or whether it's on a smaller scale, whether it's against other people in your town or village, where you can say, I won the award for the best hair colorist in the village or whatever, then people might go, oh, I want to go and have my hair done by that person. So
Yeah.
it gets you noticed with clients, and it also, it could, if you wanted to take it to that level, it could also get you noticed in the industry as well.
Absolutely. There's a question from Amber, another good question. Is there anyone who inspired you to do hair?
Yes. Well, I wasn't somebody who was brought up around hairdressers. I am just going to switch over to my second colour now, by the way, guys. And so we've moved on to the other side of the head, and I have switched to a new colour.
Same just a different colour now. Is that right?
Same technique. Yeah, exactly the same.
Gotcha.
Exactly the same. So yeah, I didn't grow up around hairdressers. I'm not from a family of hairdressers. And I'll be completely honest with you, I grew up in a very sleepy, middle class area that was quite boring. And everyone had the same hair and everyone had the same hairdresser. And I wasn't inspired to be a hairdresser until I started buying hairdressing magazines, because I wanted to rebel with my own hair. You know, I wanted to have crazy hair and rebel against this sleepy middle class town that I lived in. And I would read about all of these, you know, hairdressers, and I'd read about all of these famous hairdressers on TV and with their own product companies. And I actually, when I started training to be a hairdresser, because I thought, you know, this is creative, this is fashion, this is an amazing industry and career for somebody who is very artistic. And I bought a bright pink hairdryer for college, and it said Lee Stafford on it.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
you're not just saying that.
I'm not just saying that. I had a bright pink hairdryer at college, and I loved it, and it was great. And then one day, when I started working in a hair salon, I got a job in a really good hair salon, and my boss introduced me to his friend called Lee Stafford. And the first thing I said, and this is really embarrassing and Lee doesn't know this, but the first thing I said to my boss was, "I've got his hairdryer. I've got a hairdryer with his name on it."
You've made me blush.
But it's true. You're a big inspiration to me, and a big inspiration to lots of people joining the industry. You know what you can achieve.
Thank you.
It's true.
Mrs. Jones says, what brand of tint are you using today?
Good question. I've actually used 2 different brands because I wanted to experiment with something recent that I bought. So the pink is a brand called Crazy Color, and the neon lime green is Goldwell Illumin Play.
Gotcha. Got another question from Jamily. Am I saying that right, Jamily? Jamily, that's my dyslexic working overtime. What was the point in your career, Lydia, that made you know you wanted to be a colour specialist?
It was when I actually started doing competitions. So I sort of knew that I was inclined towards hair color. And it's funny because I do share this story with all of our apprentices in the salon here. I was really bad at color, like really, really bad at hair color, to the point where my old boss actually did discuss maybe stopping me from doing color clients at one point, because I was nervous wreck essentially, and I was, you know, making mistakes left, right, and center. And yeah, I had to really work hard to be as good as everybody else. But the minute it clicked, it was like it'd been my passion all along. You know, I really thought that I was going to be a cutting specialist. I really thought that was the thing that I found easier, or not easier, the thing that I was just more drawn to. And color, I just thought, this is too hard, there's too much science involved, I'm so confused. And then yeah, one day it sort of clicked for me, and that was around the time that I started doing competitions. And then, you know, that was it. The competition that I won was a hair color competition. It was called Goldwell Color Zoom, and it was then that I started to get more of a reputation as a color specialist. So it wasn't so much me branding myself that I liked doing color. It was more that people were coming to me asking for color. So that was when I started to realize, okay, well, this is my calling.
When
And
did you know it
sometimes it is
clicked?
the thing.
So what was the
Sorry?
moment that it clicked for you? What was that moment that it clicked? Can you remember? Or was it a gradual
Yes,
moment?
it was a gradual process, but I do specifically remember a point where I was looking at the color chart, and it was because I knew that I had a client in, and I was nervous about her hair color. You know, I still was in the early stages of my career, and I would, because I found it so challenging, what I do is I would always look at who I had in the following day and look at their notes and the consultations and think back to my consultation with them. And I would think really hard about what I was going to do and think, do I need to do any more research on how to do this? Do I need to go home and watch some videos or anything to improve myself before I see this client? And I remember looking at the color chart and thinking, oh, you know, this is the science of what's going to happen when I lift her hair. And this is the science of what kind of color I need to put over the top to make it right. And when I did it, so she had a lot of red in her hair, and I applied a color with a lot of matte or green pigment in over the top, and her hair was beautiful and the result was amazing and she was really happy, and I really felt like I used my knowledge and it finally sort of clicked. And that is, you know, that's a color correction as well in itself, going from red to neutralizing it.
So it wasn't so much the
Yeah.
technique, it was getting your head around the science.
Yes, obviously technique as well is really super duper important, but I think technique comes with practice, comes with time, and the science comes with knowledge and research and preparation.
So guys, we've got about 12 minutes left. I'm going to give everyone one last go at this number because no one has got it right so far and everyone's been a little bit off. So I'm going to give you a little tip, or not tip, what's the word? Tip, yeah, we use tip for now. There's a lot of thousands going that are going about in the suggestions, but no one has got the right 1,000 number yet. So if you want
Oh,
to
was that
one,
a clue?
that's sorry, a clue, not a tip, a clue. Dozy, and I clue. Going to give you a clue, and you haven't actually mentioned the 1,000 that it's in yet. For a free goodie bag, Lee Stafford goodie bag or a goodie bag box, I'll send you a box of Lee Stafford products for the person that gets the nearest. So you can have one last go, guys.
There you go, talking about the importance of entering competitions.
There you go.
The
Yeah.
prizes are pretty good as well, aren't they?
Well, exactly. I mean, you don't win money in competitions in our industry, but it definitely opens up a hell of a lot of opportunities, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And respect,
Yeah.
which is worth lots more than money, priceless. So I'm nearly finished. I'm nearly on my last section. And, you know, so just to recap, I've been working up in diagonal sections and then taking triangles along the section, leaving out small pieces to create a lovely blend and texture. And then pulling my triangle out 45 degrees from the head, and this creates a lovely diffusion in the color from being softer and then going stronger towards the end where we saturate it using our paddle or spatula. And then with the last section at the parting, rather than taking another diagonal section, we just let it fall on the natural parting, like so. And then continue by taking our triangle sections, but you might find that they're a little bit shallower when you reach the parting. So starting a third of the way down and then feathering up on the outer corners.
What's your Instagram account, Lydia, so everyone can follow you?
Oh, yes, please. So my Instagram is at Lyd Wolfe Hair, which is spelled LYD WOLFE. So wolf like the animal, but with an E on the end, and then hair. And if you do have any questions, you know, regarding the masterclass today, feel free to send me a message and I can respond to them. Or if you just have any questions about, you know, LSE or the recipes or kind of your ambitions for your career or anything that I can help you with, I'd be more than happy. It'd be my pleasure.
It's also good to see how a young woman is thriving in the hair industry. A bit of inspiration, right, Lydia?
That's very, very kind of you to say. Now it's your turn to make me blush. Oh no, that's really, really lovely. And
True though.
I love
because you work with your husband in the salon, don't you? Your partners, both hairdressers, and you are definitely moving and shaking at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been an amazing couple of years since we opened the salon. You know, it wasn't always my ambition. It wasn't always my goal to be a salon owner. But I love it. I really love it. My favorite thing about it is having a team and encouraging and growing them through their training.
How many people do you have in your team now?
So in total, we're a team of 8 at the moment. So we're just recruiting for a couple more, and then we'll be a full house.
How did you go from being a hairdresser at a salon to a salon owner and managing people? Did you go on courses? Did you read books? How did you make that transition?
Yeah, no, there's so much to learn. So I did a lot of research beforehand and then learned a heck of a lot along the way.
Good job.
Thankfully not too many true mistakes, but you learn as you go. When you reach something, you're like, oh, I'd never actually thought of that before. I need to research that and learn about that. So I finished. This is the process ready to go. And you guys want to see the final result?
Yes, please.
There we go.
Oh, we need a drum roll now, Lydia. Wow.
Here she is. So I gave her a haircut as well because I thought a lovely one length above would really show it off.
That looks amazing. Guys, how do you feel about this final look?
What do you think, everyone?
Give us some comments. I mean, it looks
so what you can see. Sorry.
Oh, go on, Lydia.
What you can see is that, you know, by doing the Lee Stafford education recipe for this dip dye effect is you get this beautiful diffusion of color where it's very blended, even though the colors are really, really contrasting from each other.
Looks stunning. Looks great. I mean, it kind of looks, even though it looks kind of wild, it kind of looks soft at the same time, doesn't it? It's not aggressive.
Well, I'm really passionate about the fact that vivid colors and vibrant colors don't have to be really edgy and punky and the sort of thing you do in your bathroom to rebel against your parents in your teen years. You know, it can be classy, it can be beautiful, it can be grown up. It can be professional, you know, if it's done professionally. You know, the difference is that you couldn't create this look at home in your bathroom. You couldn't give it this lovely, expensive, soft, shiny result without the knowledge and expertise of a hairdresser.
It really looks lovely. Could you take a picture of this and send it to me in as high quality as you can? Because at some point we're uploading all of these videos, probably in January next year, onto YouTube. So it'd be good to have a great thumbnail, because that looks absolutely gorgeous.
Well, thank you very much.
Everyone's agreeing. It looks really, really good. Really simple technique. It just goes to show you, simple technique with the right mix of colours, and simple's always the best, isn't it?
Absolutely. And by taking these really simple techniques as a standard, you know, you can then grow and get confident and switch things up and get creative.
Looks really, really gorgeous. So we've got the winner of our competition. It's Laura Lasdini. I hope I pronounced that right. It was 7,000, Laura said, and we've actually trained today 6,100 students. So Laura, if you'd like your trainer to send me an email, let me know where you want me to send the box of products. I'll get them off to you ASAP. Lydia, been brilliant again. I mean, brilliant work, brilliant finish. You presented it beautifully. You really did again. Fantastic job. I'm sure everyone is agreeing. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for everybody watching again. Have we got another masterclass next week? Let me just check who we've got in next week. We have got next week. We have got, who have we got on next week? We've got a quasi full head with Dana. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week at 2 o'clock. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Lydia, thank you once again. Thank you all for watching. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week. And I'll see you soon, Lydia. Keep up the amazing work.
Look forward to it. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.